So here we have a key resource, a newspaper article, which is reporting what we know now about apps and gaming in particular. So let's just deal with some facts and make them very clear. Here we have some numbers. Now, whenever you see the figure billion, we're talking about a huge, huge number. And some of you were using billion when you really meant million. Here, this is the total picture of the business that's gone through the App Store in 2016. It's actually 24 billion. Now, that money does not go to Apple. Most of that money goes to the developers who created the games which are on the App Store. 30% of it actually goes to Apple. It's still a phenomenal amount of money. It's in the order of about it's 8.6 billion. That's the figure that in 2016 Apple got for providing the platform of the App Store. And just to remind you, if you take that figure away, then about 16 billion or so goes to 16 billion pounds, that is, has to be shared amongst all the developers, of which there are very, very, very many. So they will have much smaller slices of that money. Have a look at this. This shows you, we're going to look at the App Store, but also look at Google Play and Amazon, because the App Store isn't, the Apple App Store isn't the only one. When you look at these categories here, you can see that the biggest category by far, video games, gaming, they're much bigger than any other of the categories you can see here. There we are. And if you can, that's the 2015 figures, and then you could compare that with Google Play. Again, Google Play with their particular graph, you can see here games, again, almost the same percentage, 21.3% of all the apps which are taken from Google Play. And then the final bit here is Amazon App Store. They have a much even bigger percentage, 61.3% of their apps are gaming apps. So let's go back to this article here. Now, what I wanted you to get from it was evidence to show that games can succeed on the platform of an app store, whether it's Amazon or Google Play or the Apple App Store. They can succeed independently of vast sums of money being spent on marketing, which was the case with, let's say, Lego the movie, Everything is Awesome, Lego video games, and Lego websites. Now, particular story I wanted to show you was this guy called Peter Molyneux. Now, when you're precise, you give names, you get marks because they are examples. So don't talk generally, be very precise. And we have this example of Fable. I'll just have a look at Fable over here. Now, Fable, this is a Fable 2, 2010, but it was originally released in 2004. And it took between 2004 and 2011 to actually make 10 million sales. 10 million sales, pretty good. But it took 7 years to do it. Whereas the follow-up to Fable, which is called The Trail, managed to do that figure of 10 million sales in just 3 months because of the App Store. This is the company. The company, Peter Molyneux's company, is called 22 Cans. And we're just going to have a look at its website here. It's a company, it's called 22 Cans, partly because actually it is a company of 22 people, possibly Peter Molyneux plus 22, or maybe Peter Molyneux's part of that 22. And when you click on Our Story, you get this. You say that it was founded in 2012 by Peter Molyneux, and we've got it here. It's about these 22 talented people. Now, I'm not going to say they're less than talented, obviously. So this is a company, an independent company made up of those people, and they are in the process of producing the Get the Trail, which is one of their games which has already sold more than 10 million since last November of 2016. But also, I mean, that was probably helped by the fact that it was actually the editor's choice on the App Store, and that it was regarded as being one of the top 10 games there. And that Google Play also chose it. So the two biggest app stores, Google Play and Apple, drew attention to the Trail. Now, what would happen if the Trail hadn't been chosen by the gatekeepers at Apple and Google Play? That it actually just disappeared into the 2.2 million apps that are sitting on the App Store currently. You may say it's a good platform, but without that recommendation, without it being drawn to the storefront, it's not going to succeed. That's where you would need to spend lots and lots of money on marketing if you can't get the support of Google Play or the App Store, or indeed other powerful recommendations. You get some sense of what this company is like. Now I'm going to click to another company, which is in which Henry drew my attention to, and they're called Rocksteady. So here is a company which is rather bigger than 22 Cans. So we can have a look at this company here, which tells you this. If you go to this screen, it says it's got 139 employees, which is more than five times the size of 22 Cans. So quite a different company, and it's worth getting to know a couple of companies, more than two companies, which have different profiles. You get a sense, you might get a question in one exam which is to do with production. And if we go to Rocksteady, it says here the kinds of jobs entailed in producing video games. So you've got an animations department, an art department, an IT department, a game design production, people with expertise in lighting, in audio production, in writing, character development, in marketing. Rocksteady are big enough at 139 employees to have their own separate marketing department. I wonder how many people work there. You've got to have good mathematicians who can code, obviously, and you have office and finance staff, quality assurance staff, and dialogue people who are good at writing. So you can see that it's very much a big team production to maintain the output of a video games company. A little look at what they do. Well, they seem to specialize in Batman, and this, I'm showing you this now because I'm not sure that I can access this in school, so it would be worth here we go. This is quite an interesting graphic, because if you look closely at this, you can see what's entailed in production, and at the kind of scale that we're dealing with here, which is obviously has its designs on. It's not actually a global company because it has this one location, which is in London, I think. And if I go back to this company called 22 Cans, they are located in Guildford, which is just south of London. So unlike a company like Ubisoft, which has, well, what does it have? telling you here that has thousands of team members, and that it's one of the top 5 video games publishers. But here's the point: it's actually has 96 nationalities who work within Ubisoft, and they are creative, which is this playfulness here with moustaches and ties. This is the top team, which they have a woman. And here are some of the games which we associate with Ubisoft. But this is the point that I wanted to make here. And that is, if we have a look at this particular graphic, you can see they have offices and studios all over the world. So whether it's Asia, the Middle East, Europe, America, including South America and Central America, there are offices and studios which are part of the Ubisoft organization. So they're global in that sense, and different to the small independent companies like 22 Cans, for example, or Rocksteady. So Rocksteady, both 22 Cans and Rocksteady, because of the App Store, are able to access a global market, but they're not global in the sense that Ubisoft are global, as we can see as I'm just moving about their website, showing the different markets in which they work and the different nationalities who are working creatively to produce their product. These are much smaller production companies, though they still have ambitions to be global because of the nature of the internet and its capacity to be a distribution platform. Now, we go back to the article here. One of the points that come out is the reliability of the information, and they interviewed the source of information about the App Store was a gentleman whose name is here, and I checked out. He works for a company called Enders Analysis, and when you look at who this company is, or what this company is, you discover that the staff in it are very well qualified. You've got here he is here. His name is Matti Littunen, and he studied at Cambridge and then at St Andrews, and this colleague here studied at Oxford, and Leo was at Oxford, and this chap was at the LSE. This girl was at Harvard, at St Andrews and St Andrews. These are very talented, bright young people, and the actual managing director here was at Yale. So you can see that the kind of data they're dealing with, media data, requires a great deal of expertise, which is evident there. So we can be more certain that we can rely upon what they're having to say about the media industry. The other point I want to draw up is Peter Molyneux himself, and this is the BAFTAs and BAFTAs games, and you can see that Peter Molyneux is a man of considerable status within the video games industry in the UK. And if you actually pursue this particular area, you will discover, let me try and create a link here, games features. You'll discover, for example, there's a good deal of information. There's, for example, a lecture here by this gentleman who, and what will come up here is a SoundCloud link to a lecture which would link very nicely in terms of understanding how video games works with, let's say, the point I made about Rocksteady games. So I hope this is helpful, and I'm going to stop this now.